Alright, how's it going, you guys? Sorry about my bad hair. Um, is what it is. This is why I normally wear hats. But today we're talking about expectations. Okay? You know, expectations are one of those things that uh, it can be a trap. It can trap you, literally, quite literally. Not just you, but everybody underneath of you too. If you're like a boss, for instance, you know, expectations, they need to be reasonable, and reasonable in such a way to where you're not expecting perfection out of somebody. If you are expecting perfection out of somebody, I'm sorry to say you've already failed at that point. You've already failed. It's like this sapling right here. Check this out. Let's pretend that this sapling is a fruit tree. Apple, pear, peach, plum, orange, what have you. What's your favorite fruit? Let's pretend that this is the tree that fruit belongs to, okay? Now, for one, every gardener would love to be able to dig a hole, plant a seed, and be able to sit here and watch it sprout up into something beautiful. That's just not the case. It's not true. It takes time, it takes patience, it takes care, and it takes persistence of care. In order to nourish and grow somebody or something into something that flourishes, you have to basically prepare for the worst, hope for the best, right? In just about everything. You don't want to go into this expectation of believing that when I plant this seed and this apple tree decides to sprout up like this, I expect for you to produce fruit next year. It's not fair. It's not fair to who you are saying this to as a boss. You come into a job site and you tell your employee, I expect perfection out of you today. Now let me ask you this, are you perfect? Why are you expecting more out of them than what you are even capable of? It's not right. If you yourself are not capable of perfection, you should not be expecting it out of anybody else. None of us are perfect. Therefore, you should not expect it out of absolutely anybody, save for the one man who was perfect, and he is waiting to come back through the clouds right now. So, the only person that was ever perfect on this world was crowned in thorns. He was hung on a cross as an innocent man and embodied sin so that you wouldn't have to suffer for it. So, let's say that this tree right here is a crew of people, okay? You've got your lead, okay? Your lead is sprouting nice, it's sprouting tall. He knows his stuff. He knows what to do, when to do it, how to do it. It might be a little different than what you expect, but he knows it. Okay, so you leave him alone. And then the guy underneath of him, wow, really little, very little. That's about an inch. He's got one leaf. What does he have to show for? I expect for this man to basically follow in the footsteps of my lead, and I expect for this man to turn into that by the end of the season. Some people can do it. Most people can't. Expectations over capability is what causes people to sink, including you. And so you're like, well, you're no good for my crew, so I'm going to limb that right off. And then you've got the next person down. Oh, he's got some promise, but he's just not producing as well. So I'm going to limb him off. And then you got the next guy down, a guy who doesn't even know anything. Well, what am I doing hiring somebody who don't know anything? So I'm going to limb him off too. All of a sudden, you're left with a single stock. You're left with a single stock. And what you expect out of that single stock is to thrive the most fruit that you've ever imagined, something perfect, in which it's just not capable of doing. Because one, you put too much expectation into something that is not perfect, and two, because you went through yourself and you started cutting them off and ridding yourself of the opportunities of growth. And that ultimately hurts you in the end as well. It's unfair to you just as much as it is unfair to them. It is unfair to you because you want to see this tree thrive. You want to see it produce fruit. But the more and more that you start cutting everybody off because they don't fit the bill of perfect, the more and more you will find out that you're just going to be left with a single stock in the end, and it won't produce hardly anything. You have to be acceptant of failure as well, because failure, there is no such thing. There is no such thing as failure, because at the end of the day, when you fail, you have the option of either sitting down and moping in your sadness and being mad at the world and sitting in the dark and doing absolutely nothing, or you have the opportunity to sit back and think, where did I go wrong? How did I go wrong? Lord, teach me what to do next here, because I don't want to go through this again. It's a very hard lesson. And so he shows you, okay, well, you went this direction. Let me show you this right here. Sometimes the Lord stops us in the middle of the moment and you question why. Why are you stopping me right now? Because it's for the best. He knows what is best for you. Therefore, let's say you're on a project. This actually happened to me and my crew and stuff. And my buddy, he was having a hard time because it was like everything, it was just every direction that he looked, it was just brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, and nothing was getting done, and tools were breaking and stuff. And I could literally see God reaching down and going, nope, 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 you're not going this way, you're not, no, not yet, no. And he's just getting frustrated and he's getting mad at God, and he was just like, come on. Like, why is it that God is just stopping me in every circumstance right now? The city wants me to get a license here, both for business and contracting and stuff, in order to get this project done. And it's a small project. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, you're showing him right now. I know you are. I know you're showing him right now. He's mad right now. But later on, he ain't going to be very mad, because he's going to understand the importance of both of those things. And whenever he discovers the importance of both of those things, he's going to realize more opportunities are at hand for me, because God was not just stopping me just because he's, a mean kid on an anthill with a magnifying glass, as Bruce Almighty would say. But he was rather, no, I need you to stop. I need you to take a step back right now. I need you to take care of these steps first, because in order to get to where I need to place you, you have to take care of these certain things. So even having expectations in God and stating that, Lord, I expect for you to do this for me and stuff, he's going to be like, that's nice. Except it's my will be done, not yours. That's at the end of every day. That's how it is. It was my will to wake you up today. It was my will to give you breath and life. It was my will to keep your heart beating today. So, now that's not God sitting there going, I could end you at any time. But ultimately, yeah, he can. Yes, he can. But he doesn't. That's the difference right there. God is not a mean kid with a magnifying glass. He is a father trying to discipline his children into doing the right thing so that he can use them in other places. There might be a lady later on down the line who's old and not able to do very much and stuff, and her house might be falling apart, and we might get sent to her to go take care of it. And it might be one of those things to where it's like, why are we doing this project whenever we could be making buco bucks over here and stuff? But really, this lady knows 50 other people who all need good business right now, and all of them able to produce good money in order to keep us going, in order to thrive the business, in order to grow and flourish the apple tree. I love it when you talk through me, man. I love it. I love it. Oh man, I love it. Expecting perfect outcomes on the very first get-go, especially on a new project, is just not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Expect the worst, prepare for the worst, hope for the best. Okay? That way, whenever the worst comes about, you're not surprised by it. You don't blow your lid about it. You don't blow your cork. You don't lose your attitude. You are able to think and respond rather than react. Because reaction is where the devil wants you. That's where he catches you in the bear trap right there. When you set your foot in a bear trap, what are you going to do? You're and you start yanking and stuff. All of a sudden your foot falls off. Rather than, that really hurt. Okay, let me get a stick. Let me pry that open. Let's not step there anymore. You learn. You respond. That's the whole, one of the biggest things that I ever actually did learn in the military and stuff. And let's be honest here, you guys. The Google has so much to say about my military service, and though it's flattering, it paints me as somebody I'm not. It says things like, oh yeah, he uses all of his military experience out in the field. No, I don't. I use a small fraction of what I actually learned in the military, and really all the military did was refine my observation skills. That's it. That was it. Observe, report, respond. That was it. And that's what I've implemented into doing my Bigfoot research and stuff. It's not, if you go, let me just ask this question. What is urban warfare going to do for Bigfoot research? What is room clearing going to do for Bigfoot research? What is quad ball gunner's mate classes going to do for Bigfoot research? Or what's it going to do? It ain't going to do anything. You want me to go out and do the same thing that everybody else is? Let's go act like mountain monsters and go carry a gun around and fire at random trees and go, it's over there, it's coming at us. Oh man. Oh man. It don't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And so Google has this idea that I'm some Navy SEAL, black operative, no, absolutely not. I was special warfare. I was brown water Navy. I was, I was CRS 11. I was coastal riverine and stuff. You guys, I was a reservist. I have nothing to boast about when it comes to the military, right? Where was I getting with all of this? Anyways, the Lord gives us tools, and He expects us to use those tools to respond using those tools, not react. If you react, just like what the military was teaching me and stuff, reaction does not give a cohesive response to the situation or your situational awareness and stuff. They have cards where it is, you have a green card which basically, or code green, that's whenever you're completely relaxed, your guard's completely down and stuff. You have nothing to worry about, all is fine in the world and stuff. Then you have code yellow. Code yellow is like, okay, all is fine, just be aware. Be aware of your surroundings and stuff. This is what I usually operate on, and everything is code yellow and stuff. Is I keep my head on a swivel, especially when I'm around people, because you never know. It's kind of like what happened to those poor people over in Seattle the other day and stuff at the Seattle Eats Festival. I wanted to go to that. But it was like, thank the Lord, we just couldn't afford going. But if I went, I would have witnessed something horrific. And I've witnessed quite a few horrific things in my life. That's not one that I wanted to add to the list. And God be with those people that were lost and the people that suffered from it, and the families too. God be with them all. And then you have code orange. Code orange is you're on high alert. You are ready to respond to a sudden threat. And then you have code red, is where you are operating in the area of a sudden threat. You're at the ready. You're ready for combat if you're not already in combat and stuff. But you're not code black. And code black is whenever you literally black out. You get so panicked from fear and you just react and stuff. That's why when you're in code black, it's very dangerous, not just for yourself, but for your teammates around you and stuff, because literally any sound, you're going to turn and blast your buddy all of a sudden. It's not a good situation to be in. And so they teach you at high stress levels in order to remain in code red for prolonged periods of time, in order for them to basically trust sending you out to the field. That way they know, okay, this guy is not going to blast his buddy right here whenever the dookie hits the fan and stuff. This guy's going to know what to do. He's going to know how to shut it off. He's going to know how to respond, not react. Because reaction is the devil's playground. That's when everything comes unraveled. That's when anything is possible to go wrong. So, by taking this from the military, I've implemented it into my life on so many different ways. I get a lot of people that are always like, how are you able to go through this situation and yet you seem fine? I've dealt with worse. With less even. It's better to respond rather than react, because if you just react to it, what's that get done? Reacting is a child's tantrum. There's nothing's going my way, so I'm gonna throw my hard hat. I'm gonna throw tools around. I'm gonna break stuff. I'm gonna take 10 steps back rather than take a pause and realize where I need to plant my feet and hold firm, because the ship's rocking right now, and I need to be able to hang on right now, because if I just throw my foot in the middle of the storm, I'm going overboard. Thanks again. Response over reaction. That's why another parable that I talk about, and James talked about it so beautifully. He calls it the spark of the tongue, and he refers to basically the hateful words in an argument as a spark in the middle of a forest. And the forest represents your peace and those who thrive around you, those who are uninvolved. Basically, you see a lot of this same spark, this same argument going on between the left wing and the right wing, the blue and the red, the donkey and the elephant. You know, there's a reason why they call them wings. Your left wing and your right wing. If you just put them together, they're just wings. What are they going to do? They're members of the same bird, which means this team plays against this team, but both teams belong to the same bird. And if you were to chop one off, guess what happens? It's all done. It's over. Game over. Another parable I talk about is the box. Okay? The box. And basically, the Monopoly game. Left and right, they're just two teams to the same goal, the same game. Expecting that one is going to be better than the other, you're going to find certain things where you're going to be like, more this wing and stuff because I like this wing better. I just can't really get along with this wing right here and stuff. And then they just shut it off completely to where like this one just needs to go. It just needs to go. It just needs to go. Instead of stepping back and belonging to the bird and realizing, okay, there's benefits here, there's benefits here, there are cons here, there are cons here. There are pros and cons on both sides. They equal each other out, okay? Because if one starts to weigh more than the other, guess what's happening? The bird's spiraling down still. And we might be in a spiral today, but I'm no politician. I'm not anybody who, honestly, I'm not somebody who invests into political parties or the government whatsoever, because I've seen the damage that it does. There are people I grew up with, people I used to be such good friends with and stuff, and I was part of that whole political song and dance for a little while. The agendas that were coming through and speaking my voice out against these agendas and saying, you have no right. All of a sudden I start getting shut off, and I'm like, well, why can't they see the truth in the matter? Is because of another parable that I was talking about, and that's called the sword parable, where the truth is a double-edged sword. So you guys have already heard and stuff. Well, a sword is identified as both a weapon and a tool. I was using it as a weapon, and I learned the hard way why you don't use it as a weapon. The truth was never meant to be flung in your face to intimidate you. No. It was meant to mend. It was meant to cut true, straight to the heart, to not inflict pain, but to neutralize, mend, and restore. There are no dead leaves on that one. But this stalk right here, that's dead. Let me limb that off really quick so that it can grow. That's the whole point of it. That's the whole point of it. Perspective is everything. Well, according to Lakota time, I'm whistling at the wrong time. uh, well, if something follows me home, I've got an angel waiting at the front door. All right, guys. All right, guys. God bless. Stay squatchy. It's time for me to head back home. Remember, keep your expectations in check. Don't force expectations that you yourself are not capable of on other people. God bless.